What's going on, everybody? This is going to be just a quick Legion TD2 patch notes video. So there was a update note thing dropped on the 14th and really early in the morning. I did not stream today, so we're going to kind of do a little bit of a different thing and do my opinions, takes, and everything on it without cam, everything, so we can kind of just focus in on what is going on here. So I'll make this a little larger so we can see a little bit easier together, and I can kind of highlight things as we go. The big things here are obviously the new units, Sea Dragon and Lifebinder, excuse me. So they kind of look like seahorses. If you look here, it looks like a kind of a weird, not in a bad way, funky colored seahorse. They're going to be magical with natural defense. They're going to be a relatively speaking pretty ranged unit, and they're going to kind of basically do a self damage to heal others. So the idea behind this, I think, would be potentially you utilize this unit in a similar vein to a Desert Pilgrim, but it's going to be cheaper at 90 gold and have the potential to actually damage itself to the point of its own death, right? So I could see this being both a positive and a negative. I'm curious to see if, with the damage output it has right now, if it's able to keep its own health high enough with something like a butcher to heal it, so on and so forth. But it's going to be what would be considered basically a tier 3 unit. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Another magic unit for its ranged damage is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm interested to see the unique ways people are utilizing the heals, because I think it's going to be more heals per gold than something like a Desert Pilgrim. I don't know the mana cost. It doesn't state it any here. So, we'll see how fast the usage is. But base ability is going to be more heal on Lifebender. 600 health is quite a large chunk given back to a tank, a DPS, or what have you. The new Legion spells are going to be really sweet. I'm always excited when they add new spells, right? You're basically creating a new win condition in some situations, and in others just giving a new identity to a unit. This is going to be, I think the battle scar is going to be extremely neat. I think you could utilize this with something like a Fatalizer, and allow Fatalizer to kind of sustain longer, but also gain more damage per second, right? Put it in more in line with the damage output of Nightmare and other carries. You could see battle scars being utilized on, I think, probably more off tanks that are going to sustain an extended period of time with healing on those units. It should be pretty interesting. I think Sovereign, Nightmare, even potentially Fatalizer, those style of units should be pretty slick for this. You could even see this being something that you put on something like a Super Bunk, because the 400 increase in health every time and an attack speed increase. If you have Super Bunk with healing, this will get pretty insane pretty quickly. Divine Blessing is neat because it's going to be the first buff in the game that kind of disappears on death, right? The 2400 health and the 18% attack speed is massive. That is a pretty huge increase in general. But there's also the flip side of that unit has to stay alive for it to sustain and keep on it. Something like Sovereign, again, Fatalizer. I think Battle Scars and Divine Blessing are similar in what units you're going to want to utilize them on, though I don't know if they're going to be entirely the same, in use case, but it should be neat nonetheless. Some new skins are going to be dropped here. The Honeyflower Biohazard Honeyflower, I think it's going to look really neat. It gives honey a little bit more of a menacing, toxic look. The big problem I have with Honeyflower is it looks way too cute to be basically emitting a poison gas. Um, in general, I think it definitely needs to look like it's going to damage you, which I think this honeyflower skin will be pretty slick for. They have done a phenomenal job in the last few patches of adding skins that just are very intricate and neat looking, and continuing to expand upon skin ideas. I think the Underworld Red Eyes is kind of in line with similarly what they've done recently. Underworld Red Eyes, similar in textures to like the Mecha Consort almost, but more in line color wise with something like the Biohazard Honey. Um, Boars are always awesome, but it's cool to see some new variety in the upgrades, etc. For skins. I'm gonna be weirded out though, right? Because Underworld Red Eyes is very much a, I don't know how to describe it, but a very dark looking skin, and going from Boar to Red Eyes is going to be kind of almost a very weird jump, right? I hope they eventually release just a regular Boar skin instead of the Red Eyes, so that the jump isn't so massive at times. And that is one thing that I think kind of gets me occasionally with something like the Sandworm or even the Mecha Consort. The base ones not having a skin that combines with them can kind of look a little funky. The new secret card though, Little Cthulhu, I imagine it's going to be something to do with Kraken. I did kind of make a little bit of a meme, because the whole no bitches thing is very prevalent right now. So I made a meme of it. I posted it on Twitter and in my Discord, so if you guys are not already, follow me on Twitter, hit me up in Discord. I do post in both pretty frequently. Twitter's less so, but I'm getting there. But yeah, so drop me your meme submissions if you jump into my Discord or at me on Twitter. This is a big thing though, Card Trader 2.0. So I've kind of been a little bit annoyed recently with how long it sometimes takes to wait for Card Trader to potentially give you the card you want, right? Because you sometimes sit there and just wait and wait and wait for the secret card you need, the legendary you need, whatever it may be. So now it's going to be dropping every single day they change rather than every week. I personally was vying for more like every couple days at least, not necessarily every day. But if someone has a website, a Twitter, or whatever that they're going to be posting the new cards every day, I think it'll be fine. I just don't like when you have to log on every day to just check an item, right? It's the mobile game equivalent to collecting your free currency every day, right? And so sometimes that's just not my preferred way to do it, but I'm happy that it's going to be changed, period. I also kind of like the idea that 3 legendaries are available some days, so some days you might see a lot more of the cards you want, which in turn allows you to dump your essence on a more probable week to get a better drop. Ladder points will be really cool. Ladder points are basically going to be a thing for the top 100 and gives you badges in game. I really think the badges look really kick-ass. Sadly, I don't think I'll ever get the GOAT rank 1 badge, if that is indeed what they do go by. GOAT is the red, raid bosses 2 to 10, champ, pro, elite, etc. I hope that they expand upon this idea and give people, maybe if the player base consistently stays up, that they do something along the lines of pushing for maybe top 1,000 or top, something of the sort. API 2.0 announcements incoming. Nothing really there. There is a couple smaller changes here in the improvement and fixes that I noticed earlier that I kind of want to look for and point out. So battle phases in all modes now play 10% faster, including Mythium regeneration. So every single thing, whether it is attacks or what have you, is all faster. So it will not necessarily be 10 Mythium per whatever it is time period per se anymore. 10 Mythium for 10 seconds. It'll be probably similar along the lines of 11 Mythium for 10 seconds with 10 workers. But I don't know exactly how this will impact it. Right? It could be that the timer is still the same, but Mythium regeneration is different. I'm not exactly sure, but it will be changed. The biggest thing here that I could point out is the new hours for Guild Wars. Guild Wars for the longest time has been kind of I would argue, a sore spot for me, right? Because a lot of times players were unable to play. And even now, 8 hours is still, I would argue, not enough time. I would love to see it be a full day event every week. Therefore, every time zone has an adequate amount of time to play, but bumping it from 4 hours to 8 hours and expanding it earlier and slightly later is indeed going to give more people a chance to play. Because right now, if you're not available between that short 4-hour range, you can't participate in Guild Wars. And I think it's a shame because it's a very cool thing that people can participate in a group environment in this game. But yeah, there's going to be new voices for a handful of units. So that's going to be coming in the next patch, it seems. And then there's just some small bugs. Minor improvements to the HUD. Graphics now glow. The Mimic now glows. Auto send is now going to be larger and more easy to see. And then small changes here in game balance. Basically, King is just going to be a little bit more resilient 1 through 11, or 2 through 11, excuse me. So long saving is not as prevalent and is not as strong. And then they're nerfing leak gold slightly, or increasing leak gold slightly, so that you always gain at least 1 gold instead of the 0. So waves 1 through 3, Fiesta leaks, etc., will give players in Classic and other game modes a little bit more gold. And then the movement speed is being dropped slightly in 2v2, which I imagine is something in line with the fact that they increased all speed by 10%. But we'll kind of see about that. The bonus income is going to go from 6 to 5 on Chaos. I think this is probably needed. Chaos is a little bit oppressive sometimes due to the fact that you can get some pretty insane rolls. That being said, it's still one of those things, it's feast or famine. So, kind of one of those things. I don't disagree with the idea that it's doing too well in low, and then high elo can be annoying, right? Especially if a good player can get a good roll, things can get really hairy really quickly. So then we look at mana regeneration, Legion spell change, going to be slight increases. Certain fighters in this list here are going to get a buff. I really don't like the Atom Proton buff. I think they're already too strong, and they're almost unleakable early game. But I alas cannot make that decision. Oathbreaker, I think, right now has been underutilized after the snail change because it currently leaks more than people want. Junior Fisherman, in the Angler, getting a buff again. So I imagine you'll be able to get it full off of just wave 3 and 4 now, and a partial of wave 5 to get a 75 stack. Like it won't take much. Basically, wave 16 alone with a moderate send will stack an Angler. Not saying you want to drop one on those waves, but I think this will make it, again, slightly faster at filling, giving you more opportunity to drop an Angler on waves like 7, for instance, if you don't want to push all workers or what have you. Sky Queen getting a buff again because they kind of killed it and then brought it back to life, and then killed it again, then brought it back to life again. So we'll see how this ends up panning out. Windhawk now will probably leak on 1, guaranteed. I don't think it will hold at all on 1 with just a base Windhawk. So you'll probably need to do Windhawk plus Snail if you want to go Windhawk. This does kind of nerf the idea of a 5 or 6 worker Windhawk start with cash out because it will always leak. You'll kind of see a theme here of Warg and Warg-based units throughout this getting nerfed. Warg getting a drop, a Lioness, Alpha Male getting dropped, Infiltrator getting dropped. Halo and Arc of Justice getting a max of 5 times increase, because I think the idea of a full board of Pegasi with a bunch of with 1 or 2 Arc of Justice was not what they intended. I know a couple people in my Discord and others in the official Discord were having some fun doing some pretty crazy builds with it. Zerker getting a pretty needed buff, in my opinion. Right now, it's just not great. Um, in general, it just doesn't feel super good. Hydra getting a slight nerf. I still think it's probably one of the most gold efficient tanks in the game, though. Wouldn't worry too much. Holy Avenger getting nerfed again, so no more damage reduction. Now it just gaining health, which I think is probably smart. I think lifesteal right now on it, especially once it gets slamming, or even as it gets higher up in the damage reduction range, is just too much. It's just too much still. It's now going to be more of an off-tank DPS than a full tank DPS, like Zerker is an off-tank DPS. So we'll kind of see how this pans out, and then Imp's getting a slight nerf. That's kind of it. I just want to do a quick little video for this. Nothing too crazy. If you have any questions, I will drop the link to this all in the comments section below. And if anything, let me know if you guys have anything that pops up in the comments, questions or tests you guys want me to run. What of the two skins do you guys think looks cooler? I'm kind of leaning personally towards Biohazard Honeyflower, just because it has like a nice purpley tinge to it, and I kind of just like the idea of it kind of being more in line color-wise to the upgrade in the Honeyflower. So we'll see. It's always one of those things, getting it in game versus the renditions where they're drawn up and blown up is a little different. And I definitely think this will be a favorite card of a lot of people now. It's very cutesy. It's very cool. Other than that, though, guys, that's kind of it. Please like, subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.